Hello everyone, my name is Valentina Giraldo. Today I will be discussing with you the Australian mining company Fortescue Group, in which we will be discussing sustainable procurement. For a really long time, when we talk about sustainability, the first thought are related to green practices, okay? Whatever that is good for environment and that is going to reduce the harm that the industry across multiple sectors has caused. Sustainable procurement discusses three key areas: social, environment, and economic aspects. The idea with sustainable procurement is to make decisions that are good for the people, for the planet, and for the profits of the organization, while being responsible and making sure that all stakeholders' ideas and expectations align with the company's missions. We could say that now organizations that are opting for sustainable procurement practices are opting for also more holistic approaches, not only something that it's physically seen, but something that it also has an overall impact in probably the fields of the people and towards what can be done through their influence. Let's picture the following idea. Imagine you are in a flower shop. You're trying to choose the best one out of the bunch. You pick one, let's say this one. You want to give one of these beautiful flowers to a person that you love, or maybe just because gift. You grab the one that looks the best, and then you pay little to no attention to whatever is left. Or you just leave it for somebody else or for a different purpose in the future. Once you have it, you say, maybe I'm going to give it a different purpose. So you take the flowers out, and at the end, you only have a little bit of what it initially was. And it's no longer the same, and it's most likely not going to be ever the same. But you have these beautiful little things that now you can use for something different. This is something that could be translated to what happens in mining activities. Companies like Fortescue choose allocation generally in desert areas that are located in indigenous territories, where they choose the exact location, they pinpoint where they're going to strike in order to get the materials. In this case, iron ore, which is Fortescue main material and an area of expertise. Once they dig into an area, they need to make sure that all permits are clear, they are allowed to do it, and they are doing as little damage as possible. However, as we saw with the flower, once you make, in this case, a hole into the plant, then it's going to be very hard to put it back as it was. But mining activities do not end there. Once the mineral has been picked up from the ground and been cleared for production, it's going to be transported. The transportation is another area of many industries, not only for the mining, but generates a lot of combustion. They use heavy diesel petrol that pollutes the environment a lot. All the air that is being around, it's going to be transported not only for the local area, but it's most likely going to be transported all over the world. This transportation comes in the shape of trains, marine transportation, and trucks. However, we have to keep in mind to give credit when credit is due. In the year 2023, Fortescue saw the big impact that mining industries have on the environment and for the people around them. So they decided to make a large investment into transitioning to sustainability. One of the first stages where we saw this change in the logo of the company. It used to be just a little bit of a boring circle, but now you see a beautiful green neon color. That is the first image that we get from their commitment to this transition. Now let's talk about the sustainable procurement issues. There is not necessarily an active problem happening, but there is something that we have to keep in mind. Once we make a change, there is a whole chain that needs to be changed with it. Sustainable practices tend to be quite expensive initially. They require a large capital investment, especially in large operations like mining and the size of the company like Fortescue. Fortescue has done a great job on innovating for sustainability. One of the first examples that we can see is the introduction of the Europa hydrogen truck. It's a remote hydrogen fuel truck that aims to reduce the carbon footprint. The way that this works is that the fuel is going to be hydrogen, which is going to evaporate just water and air into the air. No chemicals, nothing that is going to pollute the air. However, the problem with this is that right now hydrogen is quite expensive to make because there is not a large demand. Additionally, we can also think that the replacement of hydrogen trucks from traditional driving systems is going to affect as well positively the company in terms of sustainability. But what about the workers? These people could also be retrained to do all their jobs. Moving away from hydrogen trucks and a little bit of the labor force, we have to think also of the overall supply chain. Fortescue is an enormous mining company in Australia, and with it comes a large supply chain. They have suppliers from all over the world. Some are easy to track, some are smaller, some are large companies, some are smaller. The problem with such a large supply chain is that it's very hard to track exactly what is happening. The change to sustainability is not only about what they can do and what is on their control, but as well as making sure that the people related are connecting to them are also following these sustainable procurement practices. However, as I mentioned before, tracking is such a big issue because there is not a certain way on what can be done. One example was a couple of years ago when the company Fortescue found out that one of the companies was engaging in modern ways of slavery, which is not necessarily their fault, but there should have been a better enforcement of what their suppliers are supposed to do in order to keep a relationship with them. That way, you get three main agents happy: Fortescue, the supplier, and stakeholders, both internally and externally. We have heard about blockchain technologies for a really long time. Generally, these technologies are used more privately and between the companies in order to avoid maybe delicate information to be transferred, because there are some things that the public is not allowed to know. However, we can provide a public and private blockchain. For the private blockchain, there is going to be a very detailed tracking system that tells the company, both supplier and Fortescue, what is happening in their operations, in their production bases, within their labor force, and within their costs. This is following sustainable procurement practices. We have to remember that sustainable procurement is also a responsibility with society. We want to be included on what's happening, and transparency is always going to be key. We want companies that are responsible and that hold accountable when they make a mistake, but also when they are doing something right. So we can provide a public blockchain that is going to show the people what is happening in a more superficial level, but it's still going to give enough data to tell them what's going on the day-to-day basis, if interested, monthly, every 6 months, yearly, or periodically, however they desire it. We're approaching the end. We have discussed such amazing topics that come from sustainable trucks to innovating technologies, a little bit of the workforce, as well as the supply chain, all that have been great examples of sustainable procurement.
Wow.
I know, right? It's such an exciting discussion, isn't it? As you can see, this is such an exciting topic. It sounds a little bit boring at the beginning, but when we get the opportunity to dive deep into it, we can see so many opportunities for the present of companies like Fortescue, as well as for the future and what can be achieved within the next 5, 10, 50, or maybe even 50 years. We're currently in the base of a great opportunity. So just one last recommendation. We can make sure that Fortescue is going through pilots to make sure that everything that they are trying to achieve is going to have a result that is going to be sustainable in the long term. Not only for the environment, for the society, and for the profit, but also that they can actually maintain in the long-term running operations. Additionally, seek for innovating partnerships. They want to do everything, but they don't have to. They can seek government grants or maybe even a partnership with international companies that have better expertise in other areas, such as technology, software development, or even production. This is going to be such a great opportunity to make international relationships for the future and for the present. And finally, Fortescue can promote a better engagement with the people, not only with the local communities in when they do the mining activities, but as well as just with everyone around them. Sustainability is not only the responsibility of mining companies, producers, supply chains, and every other big agent. It's also a responsibility of us, the consumers, to support the companies who are doing the big changes so that they continue to do it and make sure that this is a shift that is no longer a strategy, but something that is going to become, you could say, the traditional system. Make the new become the old. Thank you very much for watching.